Africa's attention is turning away from deficiencies and gaps and toward possibilities, enterprises, and creativity. This is something that companies and individuals who have paid attention to the continent and invested there are well aware of. Fueled by a young population that is quickly urbanizing, Africa is not just the world's fastest-growing continent, but it also has the vast majority of the world's undiscovered natural resources. Africa is a developing continent with immense economic potential, prompting economists to forecast a nominal GDP of $2.9 trillion. Africa is forecast to see a phenomenal economic boom, with a projected gross domestic output of $29 trillion by 2050. With all of these encouraging trends, it's vital to remember that Africa can challenge an investor's patience, as return models and timeframes that work in other markets don't always work in Africa. Even the most seasoned and astute businesses may be forced to reconsider their plans. But more importantly, investors have realized that there is money to be earned for those who are willing to invest in Africa to help narrow the gaps and solve problems. Our video today will explore 10 reasons why now is the best time to invest in Africa. Before we go any further, remember to like our video and subscribe to our channel for more exciting trending topics and business opportunities. So without further ado, here are 10 reasons why now is the best time to invest in Africa. 10. The potential to lead sustainable development. Africa has the ability to look at what works elsewhere and then create its own answers in areas like energy technology, supply chain design, and other areas. With no historical baggage to contend with, the continent is free to embrace new technological analogies and concepts. Africa can build flexible fuel systems that generate electricity using a mix of abundant wind, solar, water, and bioenergy, as well as traditional fuels like oil. Africa, where important agricultural discoveries and productivity solutions in food production are expected, has the most unoccupied or underutilized arable land on the planet. Business leaders yearn for exciting new markets, and consumers are well aware that globalization has reduced the number of remaining frontiers. As the world becomes more industrialized, company expansion opportunities become more limited. As the world ages and trade becomes more complex, there are far too few places where entrepreneurs and businesses with new ideas and a willingness to take risks can create value and achieve long-term success due to factors such as regulation. They do know, though, that Africa is still such a place if they are persistent, resourceful, and determined. 9. African trade barriers has fallen. With the implementation of Africa's own giant trade deal, the Continental Free Trade Area, even the tiniest African economy could experience a significant boost in the coming years. Manufacturers will be able to benefit from setting up production and assembly operations in various African countries thanks to this new trade agreement. As items may readily be exported among African countries, this allows for development in the electronics, manufacturing, chemicals, textile manufacture, and processed food industries. Free trade between and within African economic blocs would make a significant effect in the future years, since investors would have access to a large number of consumers for their goods. 8. Strong growth expected. The African continent is extraordinarily wealthy in natural resources, with undeveloped natural gas and oil reserves that are estimated to constitute 10% of the world's total reserves, as well as mostly untapped hydroelectric power. Gold, platinum, uranium, iron ore, copper, and diamond reserves abound across the continent. Only 10% of Africa's arable land is now cultivated, despite the fact that it contains 60% of the world's cultivable land. As a result, Africa has become a magnet for foreign direct investment. According to World Bank predictions, 9 of the world's top 15 countries with the fastest 5-year economic growth are in Africa. Africa is expected to develop at a steady rate of about 4.7% over the next 5 years, which is a significant amount. However, economists expect much slower growth in places like the United States and the United Kingdom over the next few years. 7. Changing customers. The continent is currently witnessing the creation of new expectations as its middle class grows. According to the World Economic Forum, Educated urban professionals are young, brand-savvy, and sophisticated in terms of consumption. Retailers and consumer brands want to predict and influence purchase patterns in fashion, home, and lifestyle products, but they know that they need global standard supply chains to do so. Small and medium-sized firms who are shopping with global brands to meet this new demand are the most significant economic drivers in Africa. This means that local and international retailers and consumer brands can invest to capitalize on these Africans' desires and preferences. 6. Home to profitable companies. South African breweries, a subsidiary of SABMiller, and telecom firm MTN are only two of the well-known companies established in Africa. The overall market value of Africa's stock exchanges now exceeds $1 trillion. According to research by two economists, Paul Collier and John Lewis, African companies' average annual returns were 65% to 70% higher than comparable companies in China, India, Indonesia, and Vietnam. As a result, African companies were deemed more profitable. This means that investors that take a chance and enter Africa's new high-growth and profitable sector first will benefit the most in the long run. 5. Diverse and stronger economies. For some time now, the economies of African countries were mostly based on agriculture and natural resources. These attitudes have begun to shift in recent years as African economies have begun to expand beyond commodities. The diversification of the economy is also supported by the development of African talents, allowing them to enter industries where there were previously few Africans. African countries are also focusing their efforts on non-commodity areas where they can compete. Every African country now has investment promotion agencies, which act as one-stop shops for investors who need help with registration, taxes, and other aspects of starting a business in the country. 4. Digital transformation. By 2025, half of Africa's population will be accessing mobile internet. According to the Global System for Mobile Communications, Africa is at the forefront of mobile adoption. Mobile money networks, which began in Africa, offered unbanked urban and rural residents access to the global economy. In Africa, the use of technology is on the rise right now. For example, the startup Olam uses mobile technology to connect with new African suppliers and farmers. Farmers, on the other hand, employ technology to remove inefficiencies and price swings that prevent prescription pharmaceuticals from reaching sick patients. The sector has a lot of promise, and investors may make a lot of money while helping to solve a lot of problems on the continent. 3. Booming infrastructure sector. Imports, exports, and regional business are currently hampered by a lack of infrastructure across much of Africa, with good road networks, railway systems, ports, airports, electricity grids, and the 90 backbone all in poor supply across the continent. Power outages occur about 700 hours per year on average in Africa, sapping productivity, increasing costs, and forcing enterprises to rely on backup and alternative power sources. Massive investment is allowing African ports and airports to be upgraded and expanded. However, in-country and intra-African road, rail, and aviation connectivity are critical to Africa's growth potential. Roads and rail networks throughout the continent are crumbling, and due to a lack of aviation agreements, overloaded intra-African airline services have been limited. The lack of efficient storage and distribution infrastructure in Africa is a major hindrance to businesses, entrepreneurs, and farmers. Up to 50% of African fruits and vegetables perish before they reach the market, according to estimates. 2. Young and growing population. Africa has a population of more than 1 billion people. According to UN estimates, over 60% of Africa's population will be under the age of 25 by 2050. Africa's median age was expected to be 19.8, making it the world's youngest continent in 2020. In comparison to the rest of the world, Africa has a young population. This means that despite the fact that the global workforce is diminishing, Africa's workforce would be around 1.1 billion people, which is higher than the combined workforce of China and India. Young Africans like to use modern items, services, and technology, all of which benefit the investor. 1. Africans have much money to spend and love brands. Consumer spending will exceed $2.1 trillion by 2025, according to McKinsey, while corporate spending will reach $3.5 trillion, totaling $5.6 trillion in business and investment potential. Most Africans place a premium on quality and brand when purchasing goods. According to a McKinsey consumer survey, 58% of customers are brand loyal, and many are prepared to pay more for well-known brands, with city residents accounting for the majority of such product consumption. So there you have it. Those are the 10 reasons why now is the best time to invest in Africa. Do you know any other reasons which weren't on our list? Please share this information in the comments section. Also, if you enjoyed this video and want more definitive information about business opportunities and trends in Africa, make sure to like it and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss out on any of our future exciting videos.